So this is not a league. It's just a team battle that happens every Monday. So it's actually just the same teams. If you have a state or local club that wants to participate, we do have a couple teams that are not super active right now. And so if you just contact the Memphis Chess Club, they're the ones that organize it. So you can probably get your team on there. But it's some states and then also some local clubs. All right, so I've faced this person 5 times and won twice and lost 3 times. And so, yeah, we play this tournament every Monday night. And I think there's a spreadsheet that keeps track of which teams win each week, but people aren't overly worried about that. Okay, can I play bishop to f5 here? I think I can, because this rook is trapped. But yeah, I think there are 2 or 3 unactive teams right now, so having more active teams would be great. Queen takes, we take on b2 and go after the rook. So queen c1 is the move I'm expecting them to play. And I think in one of my previous games he fell for this, but then something went wrong somewhere. Guess we'll just take this pawn to let my queen out. And we're up the exchange, but our king is not safe yet. So I want to play e6, bishop e7, and try and get castled. Well, I don't even know if I want to castle here. Maybe we don't even want to castle. But we're up 4 points of material, so that's a nice start. With only using 7 seconds on the clock. He's pinning the knight. So let's hit the queen once. Okay. And I wonder if he's going to try and go into c7. That would be a concern. So I'm thinking if I go bishop e7, plays queen c7, and I castle, I might run into some problems. So do I need to bring the queen back now to protect everything? Like queen a5 just to guard the c7 square. That looks pretty good. Because right now, the most important thing is for me not to blunder. I want to consolidate my position. Meaning that I limit the counterplay, keep everything safe, and just have a clean material advantage, and then go ahead and try and win the game. The queen can even come all the way back to b8 here without a problem. If he plays something like, yeah, knight there. I am not worried about this pawn at all. When you're up material, give some of it back for an easier position. So if the knight takes that pawn, I'm going to snap it right off. And then castle. All right. So now I want to try and trade queens somehow, I guess. Or do I try and chase down this bishop? Oh, that would be a bad move. That would blunder my knight. Okay, what about his queen, though? What's his queen doing? If I go, like, knight up to g4, queen h5, that looks a little annoying. I'm trying to figure out if this pawn is worth defending. I guess I can defend it pretty easily with queen d7 and bring my second rook into the game. I guess if I'm not going out of my way to defend it, it's not really an issue. Yeah, he's trying to get in on the B file. And I think just pushing the A pawn makes a lot of sense. Let's force him to defend the A pawn. At the very least, it should distract his pieces, relieve any of the pressure he has on me. See if I can remember some of these other games. Okay, so he's gone up about 100 points since we first started playing. Even 200 points from a few games ago. Alright, so he really wants that C pawn. But if he takes it, can he stop my A pawn? I don't think so. Rook captures, push the pawn. Attacks. I guess I can even just push the pawn there too. Because he's got back rank issues. So he's going to have to really go out of his way now to stop it. And the knight can't come back to help because it's now guarding the rook. And then here we just keep pushing. Knight goes back, push again. And that's checkmate. Nice little ending tactic. And there's our first win of the day. So see who we get paired against next. So Memphis off to a quick start. We're right behind. Looks like Sam already has a win. Akil has a win. All right. So yeah, we can see a lot of the people at the top, they're berserking. I'm trying not to berserk since the main reason I am playing in these tournaments is to get better. But if the opportunity presents itself, or if the match is really close in the last bit, we'll have to berserk. But not against a strong player like this. Rated almost 2,000. And already has a win under their belt today, it looks like. And we can see that they are from Murfreesboro Chess Club. So I'm not sure how well they're doing. I think they may have won one of the weeks. We get a scotch to start out. And let's have some fun. Just because it's rapid doesn't mean we have to play super safe, although they are. This is a way to decline a lot of gambits. It's a main line in declining the Smith-Morra, but it is not a good way to decline this gambit. Not like black's losing or anything, but white does get a solid advantage after that way of declining. If you're going to decline this gambit, you really just have to play d5 right away, back in this position. If you're going to decline it, play d5 here. Otherwise, you've got to go all in and accept it. The reason is because the d3 bishop is not misplaced in this position, and the knight has a lot of good opportunities. So it doesn't really inconvenience white the way it does in some other openings. That being said, I'll probably go on to lose this game, but I stand by what I said. Objectively. I just want to get out of that pin since the knight's already defending. Already seeing the usefulness of the knight on d2. The queen doesn't really do much on b3 in this position. You typically want to go to b3 whenever you have some kind of doubled attack on the b pawn and either a pawn on the d5 square or f7 that's not well defended. So since that isn't the case, the queen's going to come to c2. And we've got ideas of pushing e5 with discovered attacks later on. Something he has to think about. Yeah, so he's going to try and deal with it right now. But I think we're going to take this knight. And can I just go after the e-pawn right away? Looks like it. So I want to go after the e-pawn and also set up for the idea of going to the d file at some point. f3 may be an idea. This diagonal is blocked for the moment, so maybe b4 is an idea. But it's going to be hard to keep the diagonal blocked, or my bishop can go to many other diagonals, so short-term problem there. If I am going to push the f-pawn, I've got to decide whether or not to play king h1 first. Okay, he just retreats completely. Do we want to keep the bishop, or do we want to trade? Probably trade. Probably trade. Okay, and then let's hit that bishop. And we've got the idea of using the f5 or the d5 squares for our knight. Maybe we just push f5 here, or knight f5 here. It almost forces them to trade their bishop, opens the e file. Seems good. Would like our knight to stay there long term, but I've found in many games I make the mistake of not going to f5 when their bishop can capture, and then later on seeing that that was the best way to proceed. Because when I hold off, when the f5 square is already under attack by a minor piece, my knight never gets there anyway. So just throw the knight in there, open up the e file, which is why we put the rook there to begin with. Even be fancy, recapture pre-move. Okay, and they don't take the knight. This looks like a good opportunity for a rook lift, though. Or do we just play h4? Or h4? No, probably rook lift first. h4, I think, is more of hope chess. At the very least, it's a good amount to calculate. And this is a rapid game, so we're going to keep it pretty simple. Though I do have time on the clock to use. This tournament's going to go fast. This team battle is only 90 minutes. If we say that each game, at the very least, takes 10 minutes, we're talking about less than 10 games for the whole thing. So we got to make them count. Now, we've got rook g3 with the idea of pushing f6 later on. Maybe even f6 right away. The e-pawn can be weak, so he can't really go knight f6 here. He's defended all the pressure well so far. Just got to poke and prod. Keep the pressure up. The reason I was considering the h4 move earlier was to try to entice the queen to go to g6, so I had knight to e7. But as I said, that really is mostly hope chess. So I guess that's his effort of closing the file. Oh, we've got some ideas here. We've got some ideas. Okay. So we're going to start by attacking the queen. Since the queen doesn't have a great square to go to. And then I've got to play a check. The reason I'm hitting the queen is I want to see where the queen goes. Good, I thought it was going to go there. I'm going to want to play rook to h3 at some point. Let's play the bishop check first. Let's bring the second rook in. Trying to create some tactics on the king side. Right now his king can't move. So there's some ideas of going for checkmate. But I don't see anything that works yet. This is also my only piece that wasn't involved in the game, so we might as well get it involved. I can just take that if I want. Okay, we're going to take it. I think he's freeing up this square for the knight, but I've got this rook move that looks really annoying. And the queen looks close to trapped. Oh, he goes rook there. Okay. Let's attack the queen. Trying to pile up on the h-file here. I always have bishop f1, which keeps my back rank a little more flexible. So rook takes, pawn takes. Doesn't quite work. What if I attack the queen, though? Queen moves. Attack the queen again. Where's the queen going? It's got to retreat. And we got capture, capture. I need a way for my queen to join the fight, and I don't see that yet. Alright, so I'm going to start with queen here. That way my queen can join the fight if needed. I'm not sure black can afford to take this pawn. They do, though. They do take it, okay? So rook takes, pawn takes, rook takes, check, king steps up. Okay, nothing there yet. So if I attack the queen, what does the queen do? Okay, let's attack the queen. Because now the queen's tied to this knight. Okay, if I attack the queen again, they're just going to play queen down here at check, I guess. If I go rook here, capture. Okay, what if I just bring my bishop back to f1 right now? Or move my queen. There's a lot going on here. Okay, I've got 6 minutes, so let's use our time. Okay, I can take the knight, and then if the bishop takes, then I take check, check, takes. Okay, that might work. So I take the knight, and if queen checks, I bring the bishop back, and if they take my bishop, and it looks like we might be checkmating. All right, let's try it. With the threat of rook captures h6 here. now even on time, so I've given up my time advantage. So hopefully I've converted that time advantage into a winning position. Queen b1, again, bishop f1. And then if the rook comes down, it's just too late. All these weak light squares on the king side, my attack's going to be much faster. Standings don't really update well in game, so hopefully we're doing pretty well. Attacking my queen, okay? So just giving me the piece. I take on h6, capture, capture. Yeah, I don't have anything there, so I want to move with my queen that I guess trades queens, or at least saves the bishop. I don't really need to worry about checkmate now that we're up a piece. So, well, let's be very careful. Because queen there, queen trade, actually loses the game to back rank mate. So if I'm going to trade queens, I need to do it so the bishop still comes back to f1. Tricky, tricky. Okay, so we'll do it like this. Oh, I guess I still could have done that because the rook could have captured. And then the bishop does come back to f1. It shouldn't matter too much, though. And if they save their queen, do I have the threat of rook takes h6 again? That's close. Yeah, I think I might. Yeah, if they don't trade queens, they might be getting checkmated with rook takes h6 anyway. Because I'll have this attack on h7 again, and the king still can't use the g8 square. We can see I am under 5 minutes now, even after that fast start. So this is exactly why I'm trying not to berserk. I want to get better at using my time because I played too fast, even in over-the-board classical games. And I think these Monday Night Arenas have really been helping me slow down. And the results are reflecting that, so... So this game is also worth 2 points if I win. But then I'll be on fire. So if I win the next one, it's worth at least 4 points. Okay, so they do trade. So they take the bishop. But this is not a good way to do it. I actually I'm going to be up a full rook now. Because the queen still guards on f1. So now it's just a rook. Okay, back to tournament. Good game. All right, here we are. Alabama is in the lead. We can see we've got players already with a lot of points. And we are facing someone else that is streaming the tournament. So good luck to Terminator. And he is berserking it. We are not going to berserk. Maybe we should have, since we do have a rating advantage. But nice tactic. Thank you. Yeah, that felt like a pretty clean game. I've been burned quite a bit by berserking these rapid team battles. So as long as we're on the win streak, let's just keep things clean. So this is the Goring double gambit. Okay, now I've got to remember, do I sacrifice the piece in this line? So if it wasn't the double gambit, I would just take on f7 and then play queen to d5. But this is the double gambit, so I've given up 2 pawns. So if bishop takes, king takes, queen check, king moves, check. I think I still do it, actually. There's some positions where you still do it and some where you don't do it anymore. But this looks like a good position to still do it. So check here. Because the g7 pawn ends up super weak. Exactly. Berserk equals losing the lower rated. Alterax, thank you for the follow. Now I get to take with check. If they went to the e8 square, then you throw in this queen h5 check first to try to induce another weakening move, which in this case would be even better for me since the g7 pawn is so weak. Okay, now we're going to back up like this and say, do you see the threat on g7? And they do. Now just a simple castling. E pawn cannot be captured due to g7. And that's game over. So that's the Goring double gambit for you. Capture. We can take again, I guess. Do we take the queen? How much are we up? We're up 4 points. Let's take here. Because we're on this knight too. We'll take this with check. Okay, and which one do we want to take with? The bishop or the knight? Probably the knight. And check. Alright, we'll trade down now. So now we're up a piece and a rook. And they resign. Good game to my opponent. And we're in 8th place. So we haven't berserked yet, but we've got 8 points for the team. And the team has a 2-point lead over Memphis right now. And we are at 2086, so we're continuing to raise that new high rating that we have. Now we can see there are actually 4 teams not participating this week. Team Louisiana sometimes participates. These 2 teams have participated before. Denver only participated 1 week before. It's a little bit of a weird time since they are earlier than us. Okay, a new opponent, someone I have not played before. Is this mainly for teams in Southeast US? I don't know if that was necessarily the purpose. I think that Memphis started just trying to do it with some local teams, and then it kind of grew from that. So I think it started as more of a regional, but I think everyone's goal is for, as many teams and active people as possible to participate. So I'm not sure we necessarily want, some 1,000 person team coming in. but I think basically all local teams and clubs would be a reasonable size. Okay, so we've got a French exchange here, which is a good position for us, for sure. All our pieces are well placed right now. Thinking about bishop e4. Bishop e4 is also nice because I get the f5 square for my knight. But before I do anything, let's put a rook on the e-file. Unfortunately, at this point, I think that 10 is the max you can have in terms of number of teams. So I don't think there's any ability to have like all the states participate or anything like that. Maybe someday. Okay, so the F-file's half open, the E-file's mostly open. I think I'm going to offer some trades here. And then look to double on the E-file. And he says no to that. Okay. Well, I still want to get my rook involved. Need to find a better place for this knight, which is why I'm trying to entice this bishop to move so I can try and use the c4 square. Okay, the bishop goes all the way back. So now we'll gladly capture here. And knight f8 makes a lot of sense. It guards h7, it guards g6, it frees up my queen a little bit. In fact, maybe I even try and triple and try for some kind of maneuver where my queen ends up on e3. That looks like a nice idea. A lot of times when I play these positions, I'll even just give up the b pawn. Okay, so this fails to the fork right now. But what if we just hit this queen first? All the trades leave my queen on e or my rook on e2, which has to be favorable. I've got a better pawn structure, control of the open file. One of the nice things about the French defense is typically if it gets to the end game, black does have the better pawn structure, even if we're not talking about an exchange French. Just often very solid, not a lot of weaknesses with the pawns. And so in this position, since we kind of have the initiative, both people have some initiative, but black definitely has some initiative on the e-file. White has to stop that initiative and also be careful about trading too many pieces. Super Duke, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. So now they're going into the think tank. The knight could come back to these squares. They could exchange everything. Yep, that was a move that I thought might happen. So if I just move my queen, So queen here looks like it fails to queen captures, and then his bishop gets in. But if I just attack the knight, I'm trying to figure out if there's anything wrong with this move. It looks good. Yeah, I can't go for bishop g6 because the pin's not real, since he can move his knight and take my queen with check. So let's just attack the knight. And now bishop to g6 is an idea. And of course, everything trading on e2, still beneficial for us. I don't have to worry about knight to d6 because I would have captured this rook first. So now we make the big trade. We see this knight is really holding everything together. Yeah, he goes ahead and moves his queen away from all of that. But I don't think we care about the b pawn. So I'm looking at bishop here as a possibility. I could also just play b6 if I do want to worry about that pawn. But I'm always going to have weaknesses over here that his queen can hit. So I think I like just attacking the knight. I'd really like to find a way to get my rook better placed. Okay, let's start with this move. So if queen captures, we capture the knight. He captures back with something. And I'm basically saying that my initiative is going to be worth more than my queenside pawns. Didn't do a lot of calculating with it, but I would be scared to take the b pawn if I was playing white. But my opponent is not scared. Okay. So we're going to take the knight here. Play this check. Okay, so let's see what he does about this. If I attack the rook again, he moves back. Okay, so that tells us that we basically have a perpetual if we want it. Which we don't. We want more than that. How do we get more? So if I don't take the perpetual, it's pretty risky here. I'm going to give up some more pawns. Check, moves, go there. He takes there, I go there, he goes check. Is it worth the risk? I'm going to go for it. I think probably the best thing to do is to take the perpetual here, but I'm going to avoid it. At least for now. Unless he avoids it first. Okay, so he doesn't avoid it. My idea is to go queen here. I think the best thing is probably, as I said, to take the perpetual, but I don't want to take a draw here. I want to try and play for the win. So I give up some pawns here. We attack the rook, and then I've got to decide how to proceed after that. Okay, interesting. Didn't expect them to defend that way. So now I've got the choice that if I want, I can just go after their queenside pawns. But obviously, if that's what we wanted, then we would have just taken the draw before. So we'll go here. So rook takes, check, block, check, king over, capture. That doesn't look great. Down 3 pawns though. Okay, we could go back to rook here. That's not a real threat either, I guess. Did we bite off more than we can chew? Rook takes. Check. Block. Check. Over. Rook takes. Queen check. Rook blocks. Oh, I've got to check there. Queen check. King moves. King check here. Rook blocks. Yeah, that position doesn't end up good. Here we go, rook here. Capture, king captures. Check. Queen blocks. Check. King moves. My queen is active. So what? Active queen's probably better than having an active rook, though. But we might just be playing a queen endgame down some pawns. And our knight's a pretty passive piece. Looks like we made the wrong decision playing this position on. Oh, wow. Okay. Does that expose the king more? No, not really. Not good, not good. But playing bad positions is always good practice. Oh, now? And now the doesn't matter as much. If only I could attack the queen somehow with my rook. But that doesn't quite work. Rook takes. Queen check. Yeah, doesn't quite work. Okay. But their bishop has to move, so there's still some things to think about here. If our clock times were switched, we might have some good chances. Oh. Planned that the whole time, folks. I did mention earlier that I left my rook on that file on purpose, but yeah, that was lucky. All right, good game to my opponent. Sorry it had to end that way, and that's 4 wins in a row. High quality chess. That's what you're here for. Okay, 42 minutes left. We're right at the halfway point. The team is leading by 12 points over Memphis, and we've got 12 points, so we're in the top 5 for the team. Yeah, see, if you take the draw there, you might get the full point. We're winning it tonight, no choking at the end. I'll try not to. Rook takes g2 was drawing, I think, because after queen d1 check, rook g1, queen f3. Oh, you might have been right. Maybe it was drawing. Let's see. Rook takes g2. Rook captures. Queen d1. No, it was something I was definitely thinking about during the game, so I'm glad you mentioned it. Although now I'm glad I didn't think of it correctly. And thank you everyone for not saying any moves in the chat during the game. I appreciate that, keeping everything nice and clean and fair. Okay, we've got another exchange French here. See if we can make this one a little bit equally decisive, but a little bit less stressful. Okay, so this is why we play our knight e7 line, so we can trade these bishops if we want. And we're now up to 2092, 8 points away. Okay, they retreated, so this is already a better position for black. Now we'll play rook to e8. And it's better because our bishops are better placed. And it's not completely symmetrical because we did not play knight f6. And now there's actually a couple of different ways to play. We can play with our knight to c6 or our knight to d7. We could play c6 here. A lot of options. I tend to like the c6 positions. We could also just plan to castle queenside in a lot of these situations. But what I like about going kingside is it leads to a lot of endgames. And endgames are traditionally one of my weaknesses. So I've been trying to aim for positions where I get more endgames. Trying to turn it into a strength. H3 seems a little bit strange because my bishop is already on F5. I don't think they're going to play G4, but maybe they're worried about me changing my mind. The idea with C6 is that now this knight can go do other things. Like it might want to even jump up to F5 in the future. I don't want to have to worry about the d-pawn. So this person is not super high rated, but they are in 11th, which means they are having a good tournament. Okay, maybe they're aiming for the G4 square? I didn't consider that. We wanted to play knight F6 anyway. Okay, now knight E4 looks interesting. Yeah, let's play knight E4. F6 we're always happy to play because controlling the E5 square is really useful. And we've played with knight E7, which means we're controlling their light squared bishop well. So we don't have to worry about the additional weak light squares on our king side most of the time. Unless we make further mistakes. Well, I'm considering just playing queen c7 and not even playing f6, since we might have some pressure against this knight also. Two result position, usually. We've got the tricks, as long as we don't push too hard like we did last game. Okay, I'm going to take with the bishop here, because I want to free up the f5 square for my knight in some positions. I wouldn't mind seeing them push f3 and just backing up. And now we can see there are a ton of weak dark squares on our opponent's side of the board. So we go queen c7, and then we're going to play knight f5 if they let us. If they capture the knight, I was going to decide which way to recapture, but let's jump in there. And there are just so many forks. H5 is also an idea. Excuse me. H5 is also an idea, pushing this knight back. And it's, yeah, right about now looks like a good time to play it, because the knight's the only thing defending this square. And so we should be winning material. And the fork. And we're actually going to be winning this pawn also. In fact, do I even take the rook, or should I take that pawn first? I think I take the pawn first. So bishop captures, queen captures, check. The king steps back. Maybe that's not so great. Bishop captures, queen captures, check. Queen moves back. My queen's just kind of hanging on that square. I guess I could back up here and threaten mate. Doesn't seem great. Well, how do they stop the mate? They could move the knight. They lose the knight. Push the pawn. Overcomplicating it. Let's just take the exchange and play from there. Just completely unnecessary to look at all that. This pawn is pinned right now. So let's look to double on the e-file. Yeah, maybe there's some kind of cool tactic there, but unnecessary risk. Wow. Trying to open up the board. On the bishop. So rook takes, queen takes, bishop check, 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 king moves, bishop check, his knight's defending everything. So I take there. My idea is that if he captures, I'll recapture with the rook. So I've got another attacker on this pinned pawn. Oh, interesting. Okay. Okay, I've got another idea now. I'm going to attack this bishop, and I want to get something over to the h-file. Because the e-file, they've defended pretty well. I might push g5 so this queen can swing over. Okay, now g5. Queen takes, I can block with the rook. Thought the bishop was going to capture, but I guess this also makes sense. Maybe it makes more sense for them. Okay, interesting. Their pieces feel so trapped. But can I prove it? Well, is the queen going to be trapped? Can I trap that queen? Or do I just ignore the queen since it's out of play? Bishop here. Can't play this because I'll drop the rook, so I got to be careful about that. Yeah, I guess this is not as convincing as I thought. So both my rooks were a little bit loose after the knight captures there. So I'm going to just aim for the queen trade here, be up my 1 point of material, and try to consolidate from there. Looks like my f6, g5 idea wasn't as game-ending as I had hoped. Position should still be good, though. We've got the bishop pair. We control the files. Okay, let's throw in this check. That looks really annoying to deal with. And then let's attack that bishop a second time. The knight's pinned, so I don't have to worry about this fork. I don't think he can defend everything. Yeah, I guess the attack was still pretty strong after the queen trade. Okay, we can just take the bishop, take the knight first. I see what he's trying to do. So if we take the bishop, he's going to take my bishop. If I take the knight, he's going to retake. Okay. So how do we be annoying about this? You could throw in this check. That looks pretty annoying because the knight is still pinned. So let's start with that. I want to just capture something with check so that he doesn't have time for any recaptures. Okay, now we take the bishop with check. That's what we needed. Then we'll take on g4 next in most cases. And they resigned. Good game. Okay, that is 5 in a row for us. We're up to 16 points. And there's 25 minutes left. So we've got time for a couple more games. And Alabama now has a real nice lead here. We've got our top couple players who are berserking, I am sure. And then a lot of people having a solid day, it looks like. So we haven't had any really heavy hitters yet. We haven't faced anyone over 2,000. Maybe one of them was over 2,000 when we played them, but then dropped down maybe. Yeah, haven't faced any National Masters or anyone rated well above us. So this slow, consistent play is working out pretty well. There are 72 people in, so it's a pretty good showing too. Okay, another 1,900. So let's prove that we don't belong in the 1900s anymore. Oh, you're berserking every game. Yep, so the opposite strategy, but you're a much better blitz and bullet player than I. Bishop b4 here. Okay. Seems unusual. Now, my guess is that I can capture on e5, which is why this isn't the best. But I'm not going to. Because I bet there's some traps there too. I'm going to just develop kind of normal here. Just going to develop normal. Let's play h3. Bishop g4 looks really annoying here. The bishop doesn't have another square to go to. Okay, so I would guess that black has a fine position here, although they have given up the bishop pair. For whatever that's worth at our level. I want to play d4. Let's keep the bishop. Let's play d4. They're looking to sacrifice. Okay, so let's think here. Does that sacrifice matter? Capture, capture. Queen captures. Knight back. No, it should not. One thing to note, though, is that I don't really want to put my bishop on e3 because I want to be able to play rook e3 in some positions. So maybe bishop a3 is an idea because that pawn's pinned. Do I need this bishop on this square? Probably should just cover the king side. Bishop a3 looked interesting, but if he's going to sacrifice like this, then I want to cover these dark squares. And the knight back to h2 is a really common idea to refute a lot of these sacrifices on the king side, especially because this diagonal is not open, so the queen can never come to this square. All right, we'll take back, and I'm going to play queen f3 soon, I believe. But yeah, typically the way I decide about the position is if I can play knight to h2 and stop all the checks, then the sacrifice is probably bad. If I can't, then I need to calculate a lot deeper. So he's going after the e-pawn. Do I just push? I can keep the file pretty closed. His knight can't really jump in further. This knight can't either. I'm not in a big rush to deal with this queen because I don't see any other pieces there. That knight's not doing anything, so let's attack the queen. We're adding the knight also. And of course, if the queens trade, that basically ends the discussion on the sacrifice. Just trying to trap my bishop. I'm going to attack the knight because it doesn't have any great squares to go to. This bishop's controlling it pretty well. And let's guard the c-pawn. It looks a little annoying to let him capture there. Pin the knight. And he has two pawns for the piece. So I do want to be respectful that the end games aren't all just winning. If too many pawns trade, then I could be in for some trouble. The knight can't take there because I just repin, which may be what he missed. Yeah, so his knight goes running. So we should be able to trade rooks. And now I just need to avoid forks and activate my king. So I'm controlling his knight well. Let's go after those queenside pawns. Nope, don't go there. That would be a good way to throw away the game. Okay, we're up 30 points with 18 minutes to go. So that's pretty convincing. Where's my knight want to be? It's got to pick a better square. So I'm thinking the f5 square. Check. I want to go after this pawn. Throw in another check here. I think. Let's go here first. So now I'm down to 2 pawns. So this is exactly what I was talking about with needing to be super careful. Okay, this pushes his king back though, so that's really useful. I can take this pawn. How do I chase down the b pawn? He's threatening a fork here also. Very sneaky of him. Try to avoid the fork. That helps me because now I can chase down this pawn a little faster, which is what I was worried about. Okay, now I've chased the pawn down. Attack the knight. Attack the pawn. I only need 1 pawn left. And now that h-pawn can't distract my king. So my king should be able to come back into the game. And I want to take the knight. Okay. Now we guard our pawn. Walk our king in. Now I can bring my knight backwards to defend the pawn. And you want to guard your pawns from behind with the knight. So check, check, king up, push pawn. King takes, push pawn, knight, push pawn. We're good. Okay. King here, capture, push. Knight, push. Yeah, still can't take my knight. It's just too hard for him to get back and stop my pawn. The bishop controls too many squares. Okay, so now we defend the knight. It's a slow process winning these endgames, but as they say, no need to rush. Okay, now we've got both the pawns. So now we can even let him take our 2 pawns because we can knight and bishop checkmate if needed. Hopefully not needed here, but it is an option. Okay, how does he stop my pawn here? Okay, let's go back. No, he's on my pawn. Let's guard the pawn. He's trying to be tricky. Okay, and he resigned. We got time for one more, hopefully. So that is 6 in a row. 20 points for us, up to 2098, looks like. And big lead for the team. We're up by 39 points. So I think Lightning Chess and Fitz were both berserking all their games. So well done to them on their high scores so far tonight. Okay, in our final game of the night, we're going to berserk because we only got 10 minutes left. So let's try and make this one count. And they didn't berserk back, but we're living life on the edge. Are we going to have another exchange French? We are. Yep, plot twist. Only 10 minutes left. So, yeah, hopefully you guys aren't too bored at seeing the exchange French once again. Usually we only get 1 or 2 a stream, so this is quite a few tonight. But it's hard for me not to play into it whenever we're winning the games. And here we are, it's move 6, and I think black is probably better already. It's nostalgic ever since you switched to the Kara. I was actually just recently looking over some of the games from our match where we played the win hour in basically every game. All right, let's just play c6 again. Yeah, that was a fun match. Lots of win hours. The games were fun. The match result was not quite as fun for me, but... So you can see that we get this position consistently, and white gets here and just doesn't know what to do. We see they're playing h3, their bishops are just sitting in the middle, and we just basically run white out of moves in the opening. All right, where's our bishop want to go here? Yeah, if more people played the exciting lines. All right, so we can go back this way. I don't really like going back to e6 because the bishop's just a little bit loose there. Reminder, Michael, you did berserk. You have no increment. You've only got 4 minutes on the clock, so gotta stay a little focused. Unfortunately, if they play slow, it's still going to end after the tournament, but the team already won the event, so no big deal there. The last 2 events I've played in, I've won all but 1 game. 2 events ago, I only lost the game that finished after the event. And last time I played, I only lost 1 game. So tonight we're trying to keep that undefeated streak going. Or only 1 defeated streak. Okay, so f5 would be a pretty double-edged move. But I feel like my king is much safer. So let's try and open it up. Let's get in there and expose this king. We already control all these knight dark squares. Like here, if I want, I could even take that knight. Probably not worth it at all. Let's see what they recapture with. Yeah, they took with the knight. So now we get our nice f5 square. They're going to have to deal with this check at some point. Maybe queen to h4. This looks fun. So they're looking for bishop to g5. I could just take this pawn. And then I'm up a pawn. Bishop g5 isn't scary. It's really a defensive move for white. Yeah, let's go queen c7. I might play bishop to f4. I thought about going queen to e8 and then trying to come up the board somewhere at some point, but I don't think that's going to be any faster. And I'd really like my rook to just land on e8. Okay, do we just take that bishop now? Well, does the bishop have any great squares to go to, or are we wasting our time capturing it? Oh, I do have... doesn't quite work. I was going to say, I've got the interesting move, bishop to h2, threatening queen to g3 checkmate, but that doesn't quite work. But what if I make his knight move first? Is h5 too crazy of a move? h5, knight back, bishop here. Looks interesting. Let's go for it. Positional chess right here. Creating pawn weaknesses around our king when we've got a good position already. But we do need to win quickly here. Three and a half minutes left in the tournament. Okay. I guess it's technically not checkmate. The king can hide on h1, but it's got to be good. Maybe. Yeah, actually, it would have been fine after knight takes and queen takes f3 or something, probably. Bishop, I don't know. It all looked good. Take with the rook, slide our other rook over. I should probably take the e2 bishop at some point here. Less than 2 minutes, and because I berserked, I did lose the increment. Okay, where's he going to try and hide his king? Take here, hit his queen. If knight takes, we've got bishop check. And his king is very trapped. This should just lead the mate. Okay. Good game to my opponent. And that puts us at 2099. And the tournament pairings are now closed. So it looks like we will not be hitting 2100 tonight. But we did go undefeated. 25 points, scoring third on the team. Good games, thank you. Yep, good games to my opponent. Good games by the rest of the teammates. A decisive victory. 150 points so far. There might still be some games going here. So, well done to the team. Memphis was missing one of their national masters, but you know, we can't control who they bring to the tournament. Yeah, we really did kill it tonight. We really did. Also, congrats to Horobets. He did berserk all his games and win all his games for Memphis, so he was the high scorer, which is quite impressive. But it's top 5 for the team score, so need more than one player usually. Good game to everyone. Hopefully you guys enjoyed.